Let's get right into it. Number 8, the original health nuts. You wake up, groggy-eyed, and stumble to the kitchen. What's for breakfast? For most of us, it's a no-brainer: cereal, a bowl of crunchy goodness, drowned in milk, perhaps with some fruit if you're feeling particularly virtuous. But have you ever stopped to consider the bizarre, often terrifying, origins of this seemingly innocuous morning meal? We're not talking about your grandma's secret recipe for bran flakes. We're diving into a world where breakfast cereal was less about a balanced diet and more about, well, control. Back in the late 19th century, the health landscape was a wild, untamed frontier. People were experimenting with all sorts of radical ideas to improve public health, many of which sound utterly bonkers today. And at the heart of this peculiar movement were some truly eccentric characters, driven by a blend of religious fervor, pseudoscience, and a deep-seated suspicion of anything that brought pleasure. These were the original health nuts, the folks who believed that everything from spicy food to self-gratification was leading humanity down a path of ruin. Their solution? Bland, unappetizing food designed to curb your carnal desires and purify your soul. So, while you're spooning down those frosted flakes, just remember, you're not just eating breakfast, you're partaking in a bizarre historical legacy of puritanical dietary reform. Bon appétit. Number 7. Kellogg's Accidental Flakes. Imagine a world where the most famous breakfast cereal was invented by accident, in an attempt to cure what one man considered the greatest moral failing of his time. No, we're not talking about a late-night drunken stumble in the kitchen. We're talking about Dr. John Harvey Kellogg, a man so obsessed with bowel regularity and moral purity that he ran a sanatorium where patients were subjected to bizarre treatments, including enemas by the gallon and electric light baths. His grand vision for human health was rooted in the idea that bland food would extinguish sinful desires. And it was in this very pursuit of unappetizing purity that cornflakes were born. The story goes that Doctors Kellogg and his brother, Will Keith Kellogg, were attempting to make a digestible gruel from boiled wheat. They left some boiled wheat out, forgot about it, and when they returned, it had become stale. Instead of tossing it, they decided to force it through rollers, hoping to create sheets of dough. What they got instead were flakes, crispy, golden flakes, a happy accident, perhaps, but one rooted in a philosophy that viewed pleasure as a pathway to damnation. So, the next time you pour a bowl of cornflakes, just remember, you're not just eating a simple breakfast, you're consuming the accidental byproduct of one man's war on masturbation. Enjoy that moral superiority with your milk. Number 6. Graham's Dyspeptic Crackers. Before there was Kellogg, there was Sylvester Graham, a man whose name is now synonymous with the bland, slightly sweet cracker that bears his name. But Graham wasn't just some baker with a knack for marketing. He was a fiery Presbyterian minister turned dietary reformer who believed that diet was the key to moral and physical purity. His primary nemesis, dyspepsia, a fancy word for indigestion, which he believed was caused by rich foods, meat, and, of course, sexual indulgence. Graham advocated for a strict vegetarian diet, whole grains, and cold baths. He was practically the original wellness guru. Only his wellness plan involved avoiding anything remotely enjoyable. His magnum opus, the Graham Cracker, was specifically designed to be so incredibly bland and unappetizing that it would dampen all your unsavory urges. Forget about flavor or pleasure. This cracker was about self-denial and digestive fortitude. It was the ultimate anti-aphrodisiac, a culinary chastity belt in biscuit form. So, the next time you're toasting marshmallows over a campfire with a s'more in hand, remember that the foundation of that sugary delight was originally conceived as a weapon against your baser instincts. The irony, it's delicious. Number 5. The Perils of Purity. You might think that a focus on pure foods would lead to, well, purity, but in the bizarre world of early breakfast cereals, the pursuit of dietary holiness often led to some rather unholy consequences. These so-called health reformers, in their zeal to cleanse the body and soul, often overlooked basic nutritional science, which, granted, was still in its infancy. Their obsession with fiber, for example, while not entirely misguided, bordered on the fanatical. They believed that the more roughage, the better, often leading to concoctions that were less food and more internal scouring pad. Imagine eating a breakfast designed not for energy or taste, but specifically to expel everything in your digestive system with extreme prejudice. We're talking about cereals so fibrous they could probably double as sandpaper. And while they were fixated on the purity of the ingredients, the actual preparation often left a lot to be desired. Sanitation wasn't exactly a top priority in some of these early health institutions, leading to various unintended side effects beyond just moral uplift. So, while you're enjoying your perfectly balanced, fortified breakfast cereal today, spare a thought for those poor souls in the 19th century who were essentially ingesting dietary penance, often with a side of questionable hygiene. Sometimes, pure is just a polite word for grossly ineffective and potentially dangerous. Number 4. Sugar, the original sin. You know how every health guru and well-meaning relative today warns you about the evils of sugar? Well, they're not wrong, but they're also not entirely original. The early breakfast cereal pioneers were vehemently anti-sugar, but for reasons that went far beyond mere dental hygiene or waistline concerns. For them, sugar wasn't just a dietary enemy, it was a moral contaminant, a direct pathway to lust, laziness, and a general decline in societal values. Imagine a world where a spoonful of sugar was viewed with the same suspicion as, say, a back alley dice game. It was seen as an artificial stimulant that excited the passions, making one prone to all sorts of unsavory behaviors. Dr. Kellogg, for instance, believed that sugary foods inflamed the animal passions and led to self-abuse. So, while modern nutritionists might talk about insulin spikes and empty calories, these historical figures were far more concerned with the existential threat sugar posed to your eternal soul. The irony, of course, is that once these health cereals started being mass-marketed, the sugar content began to creep up, transforming bland moral rectitude into palatable, sugary indulgence. The very thing they railed against became the key to their commercial success. It just goes to show, sometimes the devil truly is in the details, especially when those details are coated in refined sucrose. Number 3. From sanatoriums to supermarkets. You might picture breakfast cereal being born in a gleaming, sterile food laboratory. In reality, many of these early health foods emerged from the rather peculiar world of sanatoriums, places where people went to be cured of various ailments, real or imagined, through diet, hydrotherapy, and a whole lot of moral instruction. These institutions, like Dr. Kellogg's Battle Creek Sanatorium, were less like hospitals and more like wellness cults with strict dietary regimens. Patients were essentially guinea pigs in grand, often unscientific, experiments in human purification. The food served was designed to be therapeutic, not delicious. So, when these bland, fiber-rich concoctions started making their way from the sanatorium dining hall to the wider public, it was a slow and often comical transition. Early marketing efforts often played on the perceived health benefits and moral superiority of these products, but as demand grew, so did the need for palatability. This is where the commercial genius, and arguably the moral compromise, began. The move from treating specific diseases to appealing to the general public's taste buds meant a gradual but inevitable shift away from extreme blandness and towards, dare I say it, flavor. The journey from the austere sanatorium table to your colorful supermarket aisle is a testament to the power of marketing and the human desire for a little bit of sweetness, even if it was once considered a sin. Number 2. The rise of the sweet-tooth tyranny. You've heard the saying, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. In the case of breakfast cereals, the road from health food to sugar-laden delight was paved with good intentions, but primarily the intention of making a profit. Once these bland, morally upright cereals left the confines of the sanatoriums and entered the wild, untamed jungle of the free market, a curious transformation began. It turned out, shockingly, that people preferred food that actually tasted good. Who knew? The early proponents of these cereals, like the Kellogg brothers, found themselves in a curious dilemma. Will Keith Kellogg, the business-minded brother, quickly realized that adding sugar made the product infinitely more appealing to the masses, much to the chagrin of his puritanical sibling, Dr. John Harvey Kellogg. This was the turning point. The moment bland virtue began its slow, inevitable surrender to delicious vice. The marketing shifted from moral rectitude to simple pleasure, from digestive health to part of a complete breakfast. Suddenly, cereals weren't just fiber delivery systems, they were fun, they were sweet. They had cartoon mascots and toy prizes, the very ingredients that were once considered the root of all evil, sugar. Refined grains, and artificial flavors became the bedrock of a multi-billion-dollar industry. It's a classic tale of capitalism triumphing over asceticism, where the sweet tooth of the consumer became the ultimate dictator, and morality took a backseat to market share. And so, the healthy breakfast cereal, in its quest for mass appeal, became something eerily similar to the very sinful foods it was designed to replace. Number 1. Your daily dose of delicious irony. You pour yourself a bowl of your favorite breakfast cereal. Perhaps it's a shimmering cascade of frosted flakes, or maybe a crunchy cluster of honey-sweetened oats. Whatever your poison, take a moment to savor the profound, delicious irony of it all. What started as a radical movement aimed at curbing human desire, promoting moral purity, and battling the perceived sins of the flesh, has evolved into a global industry built on the very things its founders abhorred: sugar, refined grains, and pure, unadulterated pleasure. The zealous reformers who preach temperance and blandness would likely spin in their graves if they saw children happily munching on cereals that are essentially dessert masquerading as breakfast. We've gone from eat this to prevent moral decay to eat this because it tastes like a unicorn sneezed rainbows into a bowl. The entire history of breakfast cereal is a testament to the unpredictable nature of human behavior and the indomitable power of a good marketing campaign. It's a story where the earnest pursuit of health and morality inadvertently birthed an empire of sugary indulgence. So, as you crunch on those perfectly processed, artificially fortified morsels, remember you're not just eating breakfast, you're consuming a historical paradox, a daily dose of delicious irony, and a testament to the fact that sometimes the most rigid rules are the ones most gleefully broken. Enjoy your rebellion in a bowl. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.